Hello, I'm James Jeffery, and I'm the Genealogy Librarian here at the Denver Public Library, and I would like to invite you to come and visit us either in person or electronically, and I want to share with you a bit about how to get started with your genealogical research. Genealogy or family history is where you pursue your past, who your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents are. And today, you can do genealogy in a lot of different ways. You can visit us and do traditional open the book, look at articles published in the newspaper or magazines, or you never have to step in the door, and you can do a lot of this online. Now, your key is two things. You need to have a Denver Public Library card. I encourage you to have a Denver Public Library card because you'll be able to get into a lot of our electronic databases, such as Heritage Quest, America's Obituaries and Death Notices, the New York Times, a lot of different wonderful websites that we have here that are subscription and to be used either in-house or you, 2 o'clock in the morning with your library card, you can look at that. Now, there are a few of our data sets that you have to look at in our building, and that would include things like the Swedish Archives or the library edition of Ancestry Library Edition. And so you would need to visit either us here at Central or any of the branches of the Denver Public Library. Now, how on earth do you get started with genealogy? Well, you start with what you know. That's the traditional approach, and it's the tried and true approach. You want to write down on your tablet or pencil and paper, or just keep it in your head, things about yourself, your parents, your grandparents, and possibly you might know who one or two of your great-grandparents are. You want to interview the oldest living members of different branches of your family. I would encourage you to concentrate on one branch of your family, either your mother's side or your father's side. Why? Because you're learning how to do research. And this is an exciting step for you. And so you would record information such as date of birth, place of birth, date of marriage, if you were blessed with a marriage, place of marriage. And of course, you're not going to have a death date or a place of death, but those in generations before will. You're going to be amazed and surprised at the sort of genealogical records that you already have in your home. You have your own birth certificate. You will have possibly a marriage or a divorce record. You will have funeral cards or funeral holy cards from memorial services or funerals that you've attended. You'll be amazed at the sort of information that you can get from things like a baby book, because traditionally in a baby book, your parents or grandparents would have written out your family tree. So you're already a jump or two ahead from what you realize. Now, sometimes you don't know anything, and adoption, that's an entirely different type of research, and we'll eventually talk about that. Not today. But maybe you just don't know anything about your family. You may know the names of your parents, and that's about it. Well, the trick is that with your birth certificate, it has a lot of information on it. Obviously, it has your name, has the date of your birth, place of your birth, but also will have the names of the parents that are listed on your birth certificate. And possibly you'll have your mother and your father's name there. Additional information that traditionally is on a birth certificate like that would be the age of the parents, the place of birth of the parents. Are you the first, second, third, or 12th birth? That sort of information frequently is on a birth certificate. And you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to reconstruct with simple tools like that. Now, armed with that basic information and interviews with family members, you want to be able to find someone born before 1940. Why 1940, you ask? Well, 1940 is the magic year. In the United States, the census has been taken in this country every 10 years since 1790. So 1790 through 2010. We're gearing up for the 2020 census. So the information that is gathered is freely available to the public from 1790 through 1940. 1950 through 2010 is currently closed for privacy purposes. You wouldn't want somebody knowing all of your juicy details now, would you? What you want to do is to look at the 1940 census. Possibly it's your parents or your grandparents who will be listed. If they are children in the household, they'll be in the household with the adults that they're living with. Those adults, in turn, will lead you to other census records. So think of the census as the backbone of American genealogical research. You're going to be able to reconstruct a family tree using just the census, all the way back to the 1790s if your family was in this country at that period. Well, what if your family came after 1940? Well, that's a whole nother set of records, and we'll eventually get there. But let's say that your family is very typical and that they came between 1880 and 1918. Well, you're going to find them in the 1940, 1930, 1920 census. And those census records will give us lots of wonderful information, such as the names of everyone in the household, their ages, their genders, their occupations, their educational level. The 1930 census is one of my favorites because the major question asked there, or the trick question, is do you own a radio? So the government was interested in who had the latest technology. So sometimes you find out in the census that your family was a have or a have not.